Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stone Ocean Episode 10. So, I found out that while we don't know a release date for more episodes on Netflix, apparently, with the airing in Japan, it is going to continue straight through. So, when it catches up, which I think I heard was supposed to be in April, like at the beginning of April, when it catches up, then episode 13 will air right away after episode 12. That's the plan for it. That the airing is going to go all the way through with maybe a week or so off for whatever reason here and there, as shows tend to sometimes do. But you get the gist of it. So, if that's the case, then I guess that's when we'd be able to continue. But that's when we get to that point, of course. Because still don't have any clue on when another batch is supposed to arrive on Netflix. Now, I don't know if the plan is to, they just release the first 12 on Netflix and then the rest will be released, once it gets past a certain point in the anime's airing. Because, again, it's weird that it's released worldwide on Netflix and airing in Japan still. That it's doing both. So, I'm wondering if, maybe after it gets to, I don't know, 12 more episodes in, so let's say episode 24. So after it gets to episode 24, maybe they'll release the next batch of 12 onto Netflix at that point. But that would be after it's already aired in Japan and all. Maybe that's what they're going to do. I honestly don't know. But if it is true, and if it will just continue into episode 13 at that point with the Japanese airing schedule, we'll obviously react to it at that point. But in the meantime, there's only 12 episodes currently, and I'm going to announce and say here that next week I will be doing both 11 and 12. So we're doing episode 10 today. Next week is 11 and 12. And then we'll just have to move on to something else in the meantime while we wait for more. It's pretty much that simple. It kind of sucks, but there's not really anything we can do about it. That's just how they've chosen to release this, with Netflix gaining the licensing rights and all. So hopefully, we'll get it right away, and at that point we can just do it week by week as we normally would. So last episode was pretty interesting, and I had some questions about how Michonne's stand worked. How did Marilyn Manson work, and why wasn't she affected by it, even though she was cheating too? And I also didn't even question the fact that technically Jolene was cheating as well. I actually was kind of justifying it the same way Jolene herself was. And it was mentioned in the comments that it seems to be that Marilyn Manson only will attack someone who believes that they have cheated. So because neither Michonne or Jolene believed that they cheated, since they both justified it in their minds, basically, they were fine. Hermes was attacked because she basically, I guess you could say, admitted in her heart she truly believed that she did something wrong. So that's why she was attacked. But also, it was also brought up that not many stands will actually do harm to their owners, which, yeah, you're right, but some could. Not every stand is like that. Some stands do kind of operate in an area where they can and will harm even their owners. Um, and their powers just in general can affect their owners. Even though it's not necessarily harming the owners, an example of a stand that affects the owner too would be Vanilla Ice's stand Cream. Because he can enter the mouth of his stand and be kind of put away into the pocket dimension just like anything else that's put in there. Except, I guess, because it's also his stand, he's able to exit the pocket dimension at his will as well. So there's kind of a mixed bag with that, because it's like, yes, it can affect him, but he's able to do something with it that no one else can do at the same time. So yeah, there's still stands that can affect their owners and still stands that can hurt their owners. It just depends on the stand. It just entirely depends on the stand. This one, it's just kind of not clear. With Marilyn Manson, it's just not clear whether or not it could affect Miroshon or not, because we're never really given the opportunity to show. Especially if it is true that it only affects someone who believes that they have done wrong, who believes that they have cheated. And again, if Miroshon didn't, and she was justifying it in her mind and all, then she was probably just safe from it just because of that. But either way, Miroshon was defeated, and so we kind of just have to move on. Father Pucci is pulling the strings behind the scenes. Him and his stand doing some pretty big damage and seeming like could possibly be the main villain. But honestly, with it still being in the first 12 episodes, it's hard to say. It's still too early to say if this is going to be the main villain or just another secondary villain. Because Whitesnake, with his ability, doesn't seem main villain-like. But maybe that's just because of the main villains we've had more recently. We've had the likes of Diavolo and Kira and even Dio, of course. It's like they just seem so much, their stands seem all time based for one, and more bombastic in general. And unless he's able to insert a second stand into himself somehow, which doesn't seem like it should be possible, or maybe he takes out his own stand and replaces it with one. But it's been mentioned that if a stand isn't compatible with your body, it'll just reject it. So could a stand be compatible with a body that's not its original owner? There's a lot of questions that this raises. There's a lot of questions that I have in regards to this, and I'm interested to see where they take it and what they do with it. So yeah. But last episode also really integrated Foo Fighters in as the third member of our team, and they are, as I've just been describing them, just kind of like a weird puppy. It's a really different dynamic compared to other JoJo squads. Like, I don't know what I would really like compare them to. I mean, obviously, other than Jolene being like the JoJo of the group. Like with part 4, for example, who would you compare Hermes to? Because I don't really see her as like the Okuyasu of the group, outside of just like the importance and kind of connection to the main character. But at the same time, it's like, obviously, personality wise and just in general, they're very different. I guess maybe you could compare her to like Bruno from part 5 being comparable in that way, in regards to like Bruno and Giorno's relationship with Jolene and Hermes's. And then where would Foo Fighters fit into all of that? I guess you could maybe compare Foo Fighters to like Narancia in just being like the cutesy, fun, ridiculous one. But who else would you compare it to? I don't know. It's just, I feel like trying to just compare them all the time makes it a little confusing, and it should just be kind of accepted. Like, they're their own group, they have their own dynamics. But at the same time, you almost kind of want to compare the different groups of JoJo teams and all. So it's one of those things where it makes less sense if you try to compare them, but you kind of want to anyway. I guess it's just how this series works. We also technically, I guess, have Emporio as part of the group, though he's mostly just wandering around, like hiding around through the prison and everything as he does. He's not really like actively a member of the group right now, and maybe that'll change. And we'll just have to see how anything else goes. But this is kind of our main trio. Like, they're the big three. Like, even in the opening, it showcases those three specifically together. So that's how I'm kind of seeing it for now. The others, any others who join in are just like kind of allies, but they're not really like part of like the big main group. You know what I mean? But either way, yeah, I'm excited to see what we get with this episode. I've been obviously very much enjoying this series. I do not know where I would compare it to other parts yet, but again, this is only the 10th episode out of presumably probably around the same amount as previous parts, like around 30, the late 30s or so. Presumably it's going to be in that area again, but I don't know for sure. I mean, we'll just kind of have to see in that regards, but I'm excited. Either way, I'm definitely excited to see what more they do with this and where it goes. But I am enjoying this so far. It's just too early to compare it to other parts and decide where I would rank it amongst them. Even a little early to say that about like characters like Jolene. But either way, let's just get this going to see what we have in store. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, the squad continues to grow, at least with some useful allies, as we meet Weather Report and another guy we don't know yet, who just kind of left. So, Jolene calls the Speedwagon Foundation and sets up a meeting in the courtyard in 20 minutes for them to retrieve the disc with Star Platinum in it. However, it's likely the call is being recorded, so they have to make this quick and urgent. And unfortunately, Jolene is being tracked, though she doesn't know it yet. She ends up meeting with Emporio, who reveals his stand ability, allowing himself to access the ghosts of objects. Basically, like, the idea of it, I guess, is like the objects leave an imprint within the fabric of the world. So, like, even if the object is destroyed or whatnot, or removed, the imprint of it within that, like, space tends to still exist. As such, there used to be a music room in this certain area, and so Emporio is able to go into and bring people into that music room as sort of like a little pocket dimension. And within it, there are two other people who he introduces as well. The main one being Weather Report, and then another one, again, we haven't really met yet. Weather Report, who has a stand of the same name, and I guess his name is just because it's just named after his stand because he doesn't know his actual name. Because he's amnesic, he doesn't know like a lot about his past, why he's there, or anything, and he's trying to find that all out. So he's allied with them, and he's a little bizarre. He stands on his tippy toes. He barely speaks, but when he does, he gets in close and speaks right into your face. He's pretty quiet and seems like a good shy boy. And his stand, as the name implies, can control weather effects. And something that a lot of people don't realize, and hopefully will be integrated into this, is that weather is not just rain or whatnot. Weather encompasses a lot of different things. So there's probably quite a bit he could do here. And I'm definitely interested to see how he integrates stuff like temperature or fog or stuff like that. It's going to be interesting for sure. But while trying to enact their plan in order to get Jolene out to the courtyard, against the normal time she would be normally able to go out there, they end up being chased by this weirdo who I had to look up his name because it mentions it only slightly briefly in the episode. Like there's that mid card that shows the stance and everything. His name is Lang Wrangler, and I looked it up just to see if that was actually correct, and it is. It is. Apparently he's named after Helmut Lang, who is an Austrian artist, and the jeans brand Wrangler. So that's interesting. And his stand is Jumpin' Jack Flash, which is a Rolling Stones song. A pretty good one, too. Not my favorite necessarily, and not the one I think of when I think of Rolling Stones the most. I think of Paint It Black before that, but not a bad song by any means. Jumpin' Jack Flash has the ability to negate gravity through anything it touches. And I guess the spit that Lang Wrangler shot out at Jolene before was actually like the stand or something. So it touched Jolene, so he's able to negate her gravity. Which obviously would naturally would make it hard for you to control yourself and a lot of things like that. I'm just curious about one thing. The guard there, the one that Jolene had paid off, like he thought that everyone had just left or something. They were kind of like, they were floating in midair, of course, like obviously above where his natural line of sight was, but they were also making a lot of noise and everything. Wouldn't he have still heard them? I don't know. I feel like he would have still heard them there. Also, apparently, anything Jolene touches now also is affected by the zero gravity. So there's that too. Weather Report comes to help though, and helps fight off Lang Wrangler and Jumpin' Jack Flash. But he ends up getting away with the disc, so they have to chase him. They chase him further in towards the courtyard, and then the episode kind of ends. So this episode definitely introduced a lot of new characters and stand abilities. The only way it really continued the main plot, though, is that Lang Wrangler obviously is working for Whitesnake and trying to get the disc. He tried to break it, but it won't break. It's rubbery, which is little weird. But yeah, so he was sent to fetch the disc, by Whitesnake, and we saw Poochie at the beginning just being pretentious. So now it's just kind of a game of keep away. Jolene and Weather Reporter at a little bit of a disadvantage because of the negated gravity, but I assume they're going to win. I assume they're going to beat Lang Wrangler and Jumpin' Jack Flash. I guess that's going to happen next episode, though, which is not really that surprising or anything. I assume also that Jolene is going to get the disc to the Speedwagon Foundation in time. I assume so, but there could be another enemy at some point. I don't know. There's a lot you have to consider, a lot you have to wonder about. But I'm definitely interested to see Emporio's stand in action more, and I don't think we found out the name of his stand. So I'm interested to hear what its name is. And then there's again the other person who was in the ghost room with them. So that person is yet to come into play as well. There's a lot of things that I'm definitely interested to see now. Now that we're getting these characters who are in the opening shown with our main trio. And so far, I like Weather Report. Again, he's a shy boy, but he's a good boy. He's helpful. He's nice. He seems like when he was carrying Jolene through when he rocketed himself to get through the gate in time. He seemed like he was handling her very gently, and I don't know. It's just something about that is just I like you. Just the gentle way you handled her there. It's very nice. He seems like a good boy, and I can dig that. Don't know about the other dude yet, though. And Emporio is honestly just Emporio still. He's not any different than any other time we've seen him. He's just very anxious. He's worried about everything, but still trying to do his best to help. I like Emporio. I don't really dislike any of the characters from a character standpoint right now. I mean, there are characters who I've disliked from just I don't like that kind of person standpoint, but that's a completely different thing because that's how you're supposed to view them. But in terms of how they're written as characters so far, all of the minor villains and everything and all of the other characters we've seen have been fine. I've had no issue with them. And our main group and allies are all pretty cool. I like Jolene. I very much like Hermes. I like Foo Fighters. I like Weather Report. I like Emporio. It's they're all really cool. So we'll just have to see how things continue to go. And we only have 2 more episodes of this set of 12. So, as I said in the pre-thoughts, we will be getting to episodes 11 and 12 next week, both together. And then we'll just kind of have to wait. Hopefully, what I heard is true, and hopefully that the Japanese broadcast will just continue straight into episode 13, and we can continue watching there if it doesn't return with another set to Netflix before then. Either way, we will continue watching as soon as we can. We'll just have something to replace the series in the meantime. And I'll probably have that figured out by next week, what it's going to be. I hope to, for obvious reasons. But in the meantime, tell me what you thought of this episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Stone Ocean. And thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.